Okay, thank you everyone for joining. So today we are starting Parshas Eikev. We're learning the Sicha Parshas Eikev, and I think it's always important to just give like a maybe one sentence overview of the main point of the Sicha, and then so we kind of get a feel of what we're going to be talking about, and then we'll dive into the Sicha. I mean, every single one of these sikhas, there's about 100 points, but the main one that I'm going to focus on is the message that I keep seeing in the sikha is that the Rebbe is saying that the Avaida that's left in order to bring Mashiach is essentially healing our body. And that we have two parts of us. We have our body and we have our soul. And in our soul, we have, of course, our soul is literally a part of Hashem, and it has access, like the deepest place of our I, our anaichi within us is literally Hashem. And we have access to infinite light, infinite pleasure, infinite knowing who we are and what we're here for. But the only blockage is our body, and because our body's physical, and that our job is to literally heal our body slowly, 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 slowly to make it a vessel to be able to access the highest light that we have within us. And then we'll be able to experience true freedom and inner Gula. So that's the overview, standing on one foot. And I'm going to jump in and I'm going to share the main points of each ice. So the Sicha starts off that the Rebbe says that this Shabbos is Shabbos Mevarchim Elul. And since we're, benching the new month of Elul, then this Shabbos is also connected to Elul. And as we know, Elul is all about the work, the avoda of soul searching, of looking inside of ourselves and evaluating how our year was, what where we're holding inside of our own journey and our own process, what we want for the year to come. And the Rebbe always points out that there's no mistake in timing. Like every single thing is, Hashem orchestrating. So the time of day, the parsha, even the moment that something falls out on, there's a purpose to it. So the Rebbe now says, so this Shabbos, we're giving a bracha for the new month, and Rosh Chodesh. This is the year that the Rebbe gave the Sicha, so it doesn't always fall out. Like I can't, I don't know, I don't believe that it falls out on this year, the same thing. But Rosh Chodesh that year was Shabbos and Sunday. So the Rebbe says there must be a connection. The fact that Rosh Chodesh Elul is on Shabbos and Sunday, what is the energies of these 2 days that's connected to the soul searching of Elul? And also, of course, there's no mistake that this Shabbos is Parshas Eikev, and there must be a connection to the Parsha and also to the soul searching and to Elul. So that's the first paragraph. Then the Rebbe says, Elul, the fact that Elul is the last month of the year and the preparation month for the upcoming year, because we know it's a month to soul search and prepare for the new year, because Tishrei is the beginning of the year, so we're soul searching. So it must be that even though it's only a month, that whatever we learn about what the soul searching avoda really is, and what is expected of us, and what Hashem wants us to do in this month, and to break this down, what does this really mean? It will help us understand what to do the whole year, because this month is like a mini experience for really the avoda that we have to do the whole year, because the whole year we're supposed to be soul searching and journeying and growing. And what is the avoda of Elul? As we know, the acronym is Elul is Ani Lidodi Vidodi Li. I am to my beloved as my beloved is to me. And this line, this phrase encompasses and hints and alludes to the deeper meaning of what soul searching really is, and what is our avodah and what we need to be doing. Now, the fact is that Ani Lidodi is I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. That means I am to Hashem as Hashem is to me. And the Rebbe says, why does it start with Ani, I? And the fact that it starts with the I means that this journey, the soul searching, this evolving, the purpose of why we're here to evolve has to start with the Ani, with I. It has to start with us from down below. That there's basically two different energies. There's an energy that comes from below to above that initiates from us, like we do the groundwork down here in this physical world. And then there's energy that's above to below, like the transcendent energy where Hashem comes and performs miracles, or, surrounds us with that energy that's very encompassing and very high. And, there was different times in life that when we really had to do the groundwork. And then there was times that Hashem showed up, like getting out of Egypt with the 10 makot and splitting the sea and everything. It was very transcendent light. So there's both energies. So Ani Ladodi is the energy that comes from down below, like the work that we have to do down here. And Vidodi Li is the energy where Hashem comes and really helps us and assists us with energy that's from above. So the fact that it starts with Ani, the Rebbe is saying that this soul searching, we have to initiate, we have to start. It starts with us. And why? And then the Rebbe says, because like the phrase, Yagaiti umatsasi tamin, that I will search and I will work hard, I will search, and then I will find. And the Rebbe says that true pleasure comes when we initiate, when we do the own work. That when we get, the Rebbe gives an example, like when we get bread for free, when we get something for free, it's nice, it's a free gift, but we could be like, it came our way. But when we really work for something and we achieve it, and then we experience it through our own effort, it ultimately brings more pleasure. And it's interesting because the Rebbe uses the word pleasure a lot, that redemption and being in a redemptive place is when we can actually finally experience true pleasure, not the pleasure, the physical pleasure, that we used to associate as pleasure, like a disassociated pleasure or like an addictive pleasure or lust. No, true pleasure is when we're one with Hashem, and that we can realize that Hashem is in everything, and that we have access to everything, the physical, the spiritual, there's no difference. Like everything is one. And when we're in that oneness experience, then we're in a true pleasured place, because we're not scattered by all the scatteredness or separation. That's what causes the lack of pleasure. So ultimately, true redemption is when we can be in a place of oneness and pleasure. And the Rebbe is saying, why does it have to start with us? Because really Hashem wants us to access the ultimate pleasure. And when we initiate it, we access a higher level. Now, even though that's the case, Elul encompasses both, is Ani Lidodi and Vidodi Li. So the month, the word Elul has both. So the Rebbe is saying, really, even though we initiate, in Elul, we have to have both aspects where we're connecting to the part that we're doing our effort, we're doing our work, but also accessing the light from Hashem and the support from Hashem and the higher light that gives us love and fuel and energy to be able to do the work. So, and so then the Rebbe says, again, he connects to so many different things. He says, this is also, Ani starts with the letter Aleph. And we can see both of these different energies, or like, from below to above and above to below in the letter Aleph. Aleph, on one hand, it has two aspects to it. On one hand, the Aleph is the first letter, so it's the lowest letter, and it only is number one, right? Aleph is 1, Beis is 2, Gimel is 3. So the Rebbe said, on one hand, it's the lowest level, and as the letters transcend, Daled, Hey, the Yod is 10, Chaf is 20, you go to higher and higher and higher heights. So on one hand, the Aleph is the lowest level and it's the simplest. And as you go through the alphabet, it gets more complex and more complex and more deep and, in a sense, more complicated because it has more value, more numbers. On the other hand, you could flip it around and you could say the Aleph is the source of everything, like the source of creation, the Aleph, the oneness, that when before there was separation, before there was scatteredness, before there was division, there was the Aleph, the oneness. So on one hand, it's the lowest and you go higher, higher, higher. On one hand, it's the source energy that holds everything together, that even precedes creation. So you have both energies. And the Rebbe is saying that Elul really has both aspects. As we go deeper, it's going to get more and more and more integrated and more like, okay, what does this have to do with us? So okay, so just like the Aleph, Elul has both aspects. It includes the soul searching of ourselves, and it also includes transcendent energy. Now, remember in the beginning, the Rebbe said there's no mistake. Everything is on purpose. So that now the Rebbe brings up, okay, Why is there, if the fact that Rosh Chodesh Elul has 2 days and it's on Shabbos and Sunday, then there's a connection to both of these energies, to the above to below and below to above. Sunday represents the energy of down here, the earthly energy that starts from within us, from us. Why? Because Sunday, first of all, on Sunday, I actually never knew that. I always knew like light and dark was created on the first day. But the Rebbe here says that earth was created, like the whole concept of earth. And so therefore, earth comes from dust. So the lowest thing was created on day one, that the actual dust was created because it was earth. And then, of course, like, the trees and grass and flowers and water and everything evolved over the 6 days. But the actual concept of dust, of earth, which is the original energy behind all creations. The Rebbe even says in the Sicha that even you would think maybe just, planet Earth and the things on this earth, like the grass, trees, and flowers, comes from the dust. But the Rebbe said even that original dust, the sun, moon, and stars and the galaxies come from that earth, from that dust. Everything originates from that. So day one of creation represents like the lowest, the low, and our avoda of like elevating from below. And Shabbos represents transcendent energy, an energy that is encompassing, that comes when Hashem comes in and supports us and holds us and gives us, extra energy from above. So it's so interesting because on one hand, Sunday, there's like everything about it's what's amazing about the infinite, like Hashem is infinite, and so there's so many paradoxes, but at the end, we could hold space for it all. So on one hand, Sunday precedes Shabbos because in the terms of creation, first was Sunday, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the whole week was created in order to give energy to Shabbos. Like even now in our avoda now, right? We work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. For what? For Shabbos. Like we make money and we cook and we clean and we prepare, and then we have everything we need for Shabbos. On the other hand, according to Kabbalah, it says that there was a Shabbos preceding creation, that actually Hashem had a experience of being and like a Shabbos energy that held the world. And then from there, he created day one, day two, day three. So there's both. There's the below to above, and then there's the Shabbos energy that's above to below that precedes it all. And really, it's both, because on one, like we say, we know that on one hand, all the work that we do during the week makes Shabbos possible because we prepare and then we could rest on Shabbos. On the other hand, the energy that we get on Shabbos through resting and being elevates our week ahead. So it's both. So this is the combination. This is Elul. Now, the Rebbe brings us even further and says both of these aspects, the Shabbos and Sunday, the above and below, is within us. Because everything that's in this world on a cosmic universal level is also within us on a personal level, that our bodies are literally a mini world. And we have everything, like masculine and feminine energy is in the world. We have masculine and feminine energy within us. We have, Hashem created the world with 10 utterances. There's 10 aspects of our soul. We have everything. We have a mini world inside of us. So we have the above and below within us. What's the below? The below is our bodies. And our bodies, as we know, is literally created from dust. Because as if you could open up the Torah, and it says Hashem literally gathered dust from the earth and then mixed it with water, made clay and made our bodies. But then we also have the soul that Hashem blew inside of us, and part of his essence within us, and that's the soul. So we have our bodies, which is connected to the first day of creation, the earth. And then we have our soul, which is connected to Shabbos energy, which is the light within us that's transcendent, that's above nature, that's above limitations, that literally we can access like infinite power and infinite energy from the source that comes from Hashem. So let me just see if this is here, or if it comes up later. Yeah, no, that comes up later. So there's two aspects in our avodas Hashem, in our work of our elevating ourselves. On one hand, our neshama is connected to Shabbos energy, which is having access to pleasure and joy and abundance and freedom and peace and being energy. We have that ability to tap into that in our neshama. On the other hand, our body was made from the earth. And so it's very, very grounded and in the earth. Ultimately, our job is to get to a place where we can access all of our light and that our light permeates our entire body and that we could feel an experience where we're fully in a space of peace and pleasure and joy. However, because our body comes from the lowest place, our job is to elevate our body to make access for this light. And that's when it says Ani Ladodi comes first, that we initiate, that Hashem basically created it in a way that the light is all there, but the body has limitations or bondages, or we could say trauma, or we could say the nervous system has blockages that blocks the light. Like, all our life we were searching for the light, searching for the answer, searching for peace, searching for love. And then Chassidus comes and says, where are you searching? It's all inside of you. But then when we go inside of our bodies, we're like, oh my gosh, I feel all this pain. I feel all this disconnect. I feel all this lack. I'm so uncomfortable. And so the Rebbe is saying, yes, it's all there because your neshama is there, but your body is a slow progression that slowly, 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 slowly through your own work, through your own initiation, through your heart avoda, you open up your body to be a vessel to experience what's all already inside of you. And the body is like the Aleph, that's the lowest level, or the Sunday that the Rebbe said, like, Sunday it started, Hashem made dark and light and earth. And then the second day, it was more complicated. It was Gevura, division. There was water and land. And then the third day was more complex. There was all of a sudden trees and grass and flowers. And then the fourth day, galaxies. Like, it gets more and more complicated. The same thing with the Aleph base. It starts with the first letter, and then each letter is more complex because it has more numerical value. So the Rebbe said that's the avoda of the body. It starts easier, and the more deep you go, you're in a certain way, it gets more complex because you're going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into your inner nervous system, into your body, and there's all these complexities that's blocking from the light. But we have the power to do the work because we have that transcendent energy, that Shabbos energy that's within us, that's holding us, and both are true at the same time. Now I'm going to continue, and then we'll go more deep, because this is, like, I think the main point. And, like, of course we want to break this down into practical, because this is the Rebbe's telling us this is our work. This is what we need to do. Now Sunday on Rosh Chodesh Elul, there's 2 days. There's Shabbos and Sunday. And Shabbos, even though it's Rosh Chodesh Elul, it's the last day of Av. So 30th day of Av, but it's still Rosh Chodesh Elul. On Sunday, the second day of Rosh Chodesh, it's the first of Elul. So it's more connected to Elul. And we actually start all the different minhagim of Elul on that second day of Rosh Chodesh, because it's the first of Elul. So, like, blowing the shofar and whatever else we do in Elul. So the Rebbe is saying, even though you could think maybe that, Shabbos has the Shabbos energy, or the soul, or the transcendent energy is higher, actually, the fact that Elul really starts on Sunday, that the first day of creation, or the body, the earth, is actually on a higher level, and it's more connected. It's like the deepest, deepest, deepest work that we can do. And the Rebbe said it's something so amazing. He said that so much so that we might think that the soul has a higher level or higher light, and we might want to keep getting transcendent light. But the Rebbe said no, that actually through our work, doing, like, the interacting with the lowest realm, which is, again, the dust, which is our body, and elevating our body, that the more we elevate our body, the more it elevates our soul. And the more we elevate our body, the more we actually elevate the transcendent light, and we give more power. The more we reveal and reveal the sparks and open up and expand down here, we're revealing more and more and more of Hashem's essence, and the higher light also gets elevated. And that's our power, that we literally like are given the power to, that's how we're a partner with Hashem, that we're expanding the light and the ability to experience, like literally elevate the higher light. Now, now the Rebbe asks a question: why does the avoda of man, of our bodies, start from day one, from Sunday, if we were created on the sixth day? We were born on the, Hashem made us on the sixth day. So you could say the avoda is connected to the sixth day. Why is our soul searching, body healing work connected to day one? So the Rebbe says, because everything about this work that we're doing, which is ultimately the concept of dira b'tachtonim, that bringing Hashem into the lowest places. And so even though we were created on the sixth day, again, the dust was created on the first day, and our body, the source is the dust. So the original source, the lowest level you could access is the dust. So the Rebbe said, no, we have to connect to even before the body was created, the dust. We have to go to the lowest places inside of us. And if you think about it, I know Miriam's going to share some, and then Chayle, there's more later in the Sicha connected to the Parsha of Eikev, which is heel, which is the lowest level. And I think we could say also inside of ourselves, like that perhaps that the Rebbe saying, and I say perhaps because sometimes people say, well, where did you see that in the Sicha? And, where did the Rebbe say that? So I'm saying this in my own words, that the Rebbe is saying, go to the lowest place, like even before our body was created, go to the dust. I feel like the Rebbe is saying, go to the place inside of our bodies that we're the lowest place, like you might feel worthlessness, where you feel like dust inside of you that maybe you're afraid to access, or we've been running away from, or, that places inside of us that we feel like nothing. And that's what's left to heal, to bring Hashem's transcendent light into those places. Okay, I'm almost done. I think one more main point. Now, again, the Rebbe brings up again that yeah.
I love how you found that from the dust, because in other sikhs as well, the Rebbe points that direction, and the way I think about it is shame.
Yeah.
So it makes so much sense. The dust and the shame, like it's
right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's so cool because there's our bodies and there's our consciousness, right? Which you could say, people say like, oh, maybe you could look at the Sikha and say, work on your body, right? We were created on the sixth day, we have to elevate our body. But the Rebbe is saying, no, go to the original, the lowest place, the dust, the place inside of you that's even deeper than on a conscious level. You might feel confident, you might feel great, you might externally have it all figured out, but there's places within us, just because of galus and because of the separation from Hashem, that every single person on the deepest core level has spaces within us that feel like nothing. And it's just like a natural consequence of galus, and that those spaces need to be transformed to communicate the truth to those spaces. Yeah. Now Elul is again, the Rebbe reminds us that Elul is
I think
you have a question?
wants to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, ladies. So beautiful, gorgeous gems. Thank you for sharing. I wanted to ask, is this to do like to get to a place before incarnation? You're saying like before the dust, like if you believe in reincarnation, and it's in Judaism, like.
So we believe in reincarnation for sure. Our neshama is reincarnated again and again, like, and the Rebbe said many times that our souls in this generation are actually reincarnated from the souls that got out of Egypt, and the souls that got out of Mitzrayim and walked through the desert. That we're the same souls. So history is repeating. We're doing the same work in a deeper way now, and actually that's why our souls know how to do this on a deep level, because we've done it before. But no, I'm not saying reincarnated, because actually ultimately the ultimate is that we're going to have soul and body experience, that we're not going to have to ever go back to heaven. God's essence, Hashem's essence, is in this low world, in this physical world. So ultimately the goal is that we heal so much that our bodies have no separation and are totally like cleaned out and purified and healed to the point that we're literally a vessel for Hashem's essence, and our soul never needs to go back to heaven to recharge. That's why we won't need to die. Why does a soul need to die because it needs to recharge from all that separation. It's like it needs breath, so it needs to go back to the source. But when we do all this work and we transform, and Geula is here, we never need to die because the source, we're going to reveal that the deepest essence is actually in this physical world. We're never going to have
What
any.
you are saying, though, what could be connected to what you're saying with reincarnation, the Rebbe and many of the Sikhs took people in the Chumash that we thought of negatively and transformed them. And that's what we do with our shame as well. When we look deep within us and we find those areas of shame that we feel unholy, separate from God, we look at those spaces and we see, wait, that was there to protect me. That was there. I was surviving. I'm still at my core a piece of God. So what the Rebbe did with many people in the Chumash and in the Navi was take those people that everyone said was like the Russia of the Russia. I mean, even like Asa, and said, no, look at what's going on here. Look at what's happening. Look at the energy. So that, could be a bit of a connection with like reincarnation, like if certain aspects of your soul are feeling pulled to someone in the Chumash or the Navi, and you can learn Hasidus with those parts, let's say you connect to David HaMelech. Oh, and the Rebbe talks about David HaMelech and what it has to do with you and how it could help you with your parts of your soul or your body that feel constrained or still locked up, separate from God.
It's beautiful. All right. Thank you, Miriam. So I'll just finish up here. And Miriam, can you text Leah? Because she's doing the next part.
She's not on, I know. Yeah, I'll message her.
Okay, thank you. So now the Rebbe brings up again that even though we're talking about both parts, the higher, the lower, the soul, the body, Shabbos versus Sunday, that ultimately Elul, again, the Rebbe reminds us, is the combination of both. And what is the combination of both? The Rebbe says that I, when we say ani ledodi v'dodi, I am to my beloved as my beloved is to me, we're talking about a lower I. The part of the I that has perhaps ego or has a separation from Hashem's essence. But the Rebbe said ultimately, when we combine both, when we work on healing our body, slowly expanding, opening, accessing the infinite truth of who we are, that have this transcendent infinite energy within us, we get closer and closer and closer to the ultimate fusion and truth, which is that we're soul and body, and that the ani switches to anaychi, which is that the I becomes Hashem's I, that we get so elevated and so fused and so one with Hashem's essence that when we say I, we recognize the truth that I is Hashem's I. And that's what the true Elul is, that there is no lower, higher. There is no physical, spiritual. There is only one, Hashem. Hashem's the essence of everything. So when we get the highest ultimate level, is our I is Hashem's I, and that's the fusion of both. Now, one more thing, I'm getting chills because it's so powerful. So now the Rebbe breaks it up into, there's 3 avodas, 3 aspects that we need to do now in order to access.
Yeah. I'm just cracking up inside because in high school, we had a teacher who walked in and she was trying to teach us this concept of I in Hasidus. And she said, how many of you like ice cream? I don't remember what the question was. And we said, me. She's like, who are you? You are no one.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And the stark contrast to what you're saying here is completely the opposite.
I know, it's so sad.
It's just really sad.
The exile mentality. I mean, no wonder, right? Like deep inside, we have so much shame and so much worthlessness. And yeah, exactly. So true. What a contrast, and how healing and wholesome it is to know this truth. So now the Rebbe breaks it down for us. And it's like, if you're confused still, or if you need clarity, or you need to know what you need to do, I'm breaking this down for you into 3 steps. This is what you guys need to do to access this. Number 1, the work that's below to above, heal your bodies, heal your nervous system. Anything that's blocking you from being comfortable with yourself, from being able to be still, from noticing what's going on in your body, your inner voices. heal it. You have the power to transform those places and get to a place that your body is literally a vessel. And if it's blocked, you need to heal it. And the Rebbe told us how slowly, slowly, slowly. You can't do it in one day. You can't expect perfection. You can't be like, I did the work, I'm there. It's slowly, 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 little baby steps. And also our nervous system can be a really, really scary space to enter. So the Rebbe is encouraging us to do it slowly. Number 2, connecting to our neshama. What means connected to our neshama? Connecting to Shabbos energy. That means every day, every week, we have to work on healing our nervous system, healing our body. And number 2, every day, every week, we have to connect to our neshama, Shabbos energy, which means access pleasure, access joy, access peace, being still, whatever it is, meditating, being quiet, using physical. Shabbos is all about using physical things in an elevated way for Hashem to experience the ultimate pleasure. We use our most beautiful dishes. We dress in our most beautiful clothes. We put on makeup and jewelry, and we use the best meat. And the Rebbe always uses fatty meat and old wine on Shabbos to have the ultimate pleasure. So we can't only be working on our nervous system because it's scary and it's hard work. So the Rebbe is saying, how can we do this geula work that we also can have balance? So the Rebbe is saying, also access the soul work, also access pleasure and joy, and use the physical in a Shabbos way, where you could access also joy, so that you could do this work in a joyful way. Because the more we elevate ourselves and use pleasure in the way it's supposed to be with Hashem, the more we have light and soul to hold us as we navigate our nervous system, which can be scary. And then it doesn't have to be so traumatic, because we have more and more transcendent light holding us. And the Rebbe said, and the third work is the unification of both, which is recognizing that our eye is Hashem's eye, and working on any separation we might have, that we think that we're separate from Hashem, or we don't have, who we really are, that we have to constantly recognize and know who we really are and be working on that. So those are our 3, that's what's left, guys. That's what we need to do. These are our 3 steps. And then the last part of my part is that the Rebbe said, again, that our world is a mini world. And literally whatever's in the world is within us. And the Rebbe's encouraging us and saying, you want transformation in the world? You want the world to be a different place? Do this work, heal your mini world, heal your body, and that will have a ripple effect. And the transformation of you becoming a light being and having your soul take more and more space in your body will radiate out in the world and will bring more and more light to the world and have a ripple effect. So yeah, I just want to say, did Chaileo respond, Miriam?
Yeah, she completely forgot, but she's coming on.
Okay.
She's gonna be here. So either we could talk, or I could skip to the end and we'll go back.
I think let's take a couple of minutes to reflect, because this is so deep. So did anyone have any comments or questions?
Sure.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could just repeat the 3 things again.
Sure.
I missed out on a little of it.
Yeah. So until
The 3 steps.
Yeah, so the whole Sicha, right? The Rebbe was talking about there's the below to above, right? The ani first. Then there's above to below, like Hashem's transcendent energy. And then there's the Elul, the fusion of both. So then the Rebbe brought it down now to there's 3 steps that we need to do, our avoda. One is the below to above, which is our body. Our body is the dust. And that the Rebbe said that we have to slowly be able, wait, sorry. I think Miriam, if you can mute. That we have to slowly heal our nervous system and our bodies in order to make our bodies a vessel, basically to make our bodies into a Beis HaMikdash and to heal our nervous system. Number 2, in order to be able to do this work in a way that's not so traumatic, we have to access the Shabbos energy, the soul energy, the transcendent energy, so Hashem's energy to hold us and soothe us, to be able to access our nervous system in a way that's not so traumatic. So that's the second thing, the above to below, the Shabbos energy, the soul energy, which is using physical things for pleasure, doing things that give us pleasure, giving things that we desire, doing things that give us joy. And every single day, if every day we wake up and either we're just working, or even if our main goal is to heal and to heal our nervous system, it gets so draining and exhausting. The Rebbe is saying, have fun in the process, have balance, go to the beach and do art and dance and make yourself delicious, healthy food and wear beautiful, whatever it is. Every woman knows what's good for them. Take baths, but the Rebbe is saying, do it in a way that that it doesn't have to be traumatic. Do it in a joyful, pleasurable way. That's the second. That's the Shabbos energy. And
Well, I think it's also because your body needs to receive the message that you're safe.
exactly.
So you might be working on healing and all that kind of stuff, but your body's not getting the message. So every time you go to that space of Shabbos, of pleasure, you're telling your body, I'm safe, I'm okay, I could still take that next step and I'll be okay. Like Hashem has my back. And that's Hashem's hugs. Like every time
Exactly.
we dip into that physicality, it's like Hashem sent us that beautiful tree and that delicious thing, whatever it is. So
Exactly. I want to say also, one of the things that I used to think, like in my healing process, was the more I feel, the faster I'll get there. So, like, figure it out, get down to the bottom of my feelings, and then I'll feel better. But actually, I realized over time that no, actually, sometimes less is more. Spend more time soothing and doing things that give me a sense of peace, so that when my nervous system has something to say, I'm filled with so much love and soothing that it could come up and then I could go back to soothing. So Shabbos is also soothing, it's comfort, right? Like we say menucha, right? Shabbos menucha, like it's a time of peace, a time of rest. So also being still and accessing silence. It helps us, because if we don't access silence and stillness, then how do we have access to our nervous system? We don't even know what's going on, and the nervous system can completely overtake us. But if we're silent and we're still, we can notice things right away and catch them before they blow up. And the third one is the combination of both, the fusion of both, which is working on recognizing that at the essence, our eye is Hashem's eye, and we're infinite inside, and there isn't really no separation. So working on accessing and reminding ourselves that at the deepest place, we are Hashem's infinite energy is within us. We are one. That's how loved we are. How could it be even possible that we're a tiny bit not loved if our essence is Hashem's essence? So those are the three things that we need to work on actively, and that's all that's left. Hey, Tzifi. The Rebbe said in many of the Sichas that there's no reason why Mashiach's not here and that everything was done. And then the Rebbe told us what we need to do. So if whatever we are not accessing is because of these things. So the Rebbe put it out very, very clearly. This is what's left. And I think all of us could be honest and say, we all have areas to work on, being more in Shabbos mode, working on healing our nervous system, working on recognizing that our eye is Hashem's eye. I mean, we still have work in those areas. Any other comments or questions? If Chayle doesn't join, maybe. Yeah.
I have a couple questions. I'll go next, so don't worry. I'm making my copies. You go first.
Okay.
Thank you. I have a question. I'm very much into this whole subject, and I really love the Shabbos mode, and we moved, and it's really because I needed it. It's for me, it's different life now. I feel that I'm living, but feeling one with Hashem, I think for me practically, I really don't know exactly how to do that. Maybe I feel a bit embarrassed to say it, but that's...
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, because the more we ask and the more we're real, the more we could break this down. And I think everyone can relate to that. But that's what the Rebbe is saying. The Rebbe is saying that's the fusion of both. So the Rebbe is saying, how do you access that? It's really constantly working on the first and the second, and naturally the fusion will happen organically on its own. I mean, knowing that intellectually helps, but I think organically, the more we heal our nervous system and the more we get into Shabbos mode and we access the love that's in our neshama and we heal the blockages in our body, the result is the fusion of both. It's going to be unnatural. The more we do the work, the more we recognize and we feel Hashem within us, and we feel our worthiness. And I think it happens almost automatically. It's the
I do feel. For me, it's natural to feel Hashem, that He's here and that He's doing so many things. Almost the whole moving went effortless. I mean, that's also something.
Miraculous.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch
there you
Hashem.
go. Hashem and you just made it happen.
Yeah, more Hashem than me.
Yeah, of course. We're going to feel more and more of that over time.
So that's already what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
So it's
exactly.
not so difficult.
No, you're probably you moved and Hashem did it for through you. I mean, there you
Oh,
go.
sure.
So that's a great example. You experienced that already, 100%.
Yeah. And also we sold our house and we bought our house in 2 weeks. That's unnatural.
Wow, amazing.
Baruch
There you
Hashem.
go. You started with a question, you answered with an example. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Chaya, you had a question?
Nechama, could you explain a little bit what it means? Okay, I have two questions. First of all, is talking about healing your nervous system, like what does that mean on a practical level? Like what are the actual steps? I'm dying to do it, but I don't know where to get started. And my other thing is, it's something I'm always struggling with, and I know I've spoken to you about it so much over the years. It's like all this stuff it's so much work and it's so important. But then I feel so torn between like not between my family, like I figured that one out, but like between my shluchas, that like my kids go to school, and really I should be using that time when my kids go to school and my baby's sleeping to just breathe and just be a human and like, but instead I'm using that time like to run to the office and work and do things, and which is it I see the results of it. Like I see people who will start learning or start this or start doing so many things, but then I see that it feels like the sacrifice is myself. And I've always felt like that's okay. Like it's okay to sacrifice myself a little bit. Like, like a lot of people like sacrifice themselves. But now I'm listening to this and I'm like, this sounds like another like whole different train of thought.
Welcome to a new world.
Yeah, but I don't know how to make this like is in line with everything I like when you listen to like any like therapeutic podcast or you read anything, this is in line with it. But
Yeah,
it
the
doesn't
rabbi
seem to be in
introduced
line.
it and then it got integrated into the world.
Right. Right. But how is this from the same rabbi who was always pushing to do
It's a
more and
really
to change
important
the
question.
world?
Thank
Yeah,
you
so
for
I'm
bringing
not
it up
getting that
because
part.
I'm sure this is a question that a lot of people ask, and if anyone's going to watch this recording, they're going to think that too. So I'll tell you this. I'm going to answer your question about how to heal your nervous system. I'll do a little marketing pitch here. I'm going to be doing another YouTube video with a somatic healer about taking these ideas in Hasidus and breaking it down into practical, how people can practically heal their nervous system. So I'm going to save that for that video, and you could join it or watch the recording because
I'll join it. Yeah.
it's not a standing on one foot answer. And the other question is also not a standing on one foot answer, but I will say, just to answer in one comment, is that the Rebbe in Memchas, right after the Rebbetzin passed away, or I guess the year after the Rebbetzin passed away on Chav B'Shvat, he gave over a Sicha, which started this whole new era. Like the Rebbe went like for 40 years was talking in a certain way, and then after the Rebbetzin passed away, made a shift and a whole Sicha about that our Vaida, our Galas Vaida is over. We've done all the birurim nitzatzim, like everything's been elevated. Geula is available in the world, like everything that needs to happen, all the running around, all the mifsayim, it's the Vaida is done. And the only thing that's left is the Geula Vaida, and we have to switch focuses and we have to go inwards now. And there's a lot of Hasidim who are listening to this and they're saying, what do you mean? The same Rebbe said, we have to go out, we have to do this. And I'm like, yeah, the same Rebbe said, we've switched the Vaidas and we're in a new era and we've done everything externally and now we have to switch modes. So on one hand, it doesn't make sense. On the other hand, it makes perfect sense because the Rebbe made a very clear announcement. And a lot of Hasidim don't know that, or they're not accessing that, and they don't realize. And a lot of people don't access the Nun Aleph Nun Beis Sichas, or they say like, we don't really understand them, they don't make any sense. Like, yeah, they don't make any sense because they don't make any sense with the old Avaida. They're completely, like you have to have a complete paradigm shift in order to even be willing to receive this. So anyways, I want to get through the whole Sicha, so I'm just going to answer with that. I'm sure that's a lot to think about and absorb. But
can I add one more thing? What really made a big difference to me, Nechama gave an example of a Kiddush cup. when we have a kiddush cup and the wine is going over the cup on the saucer, that's how you say it. And then, so we were used to give all the wine in the cup to everyone. And even when it was empty, we would feel guilty. But now we only give the wine that's extra, what's on the saucer, and all the rest is for us to fill us up. And people see it on us. I hear the whole time people saying, oh, you look so happy. And that's a very different example of being a chassid.
Yeah. And thank you. And the point is that when we give from a place of depletion, then people get depleted energy from us. They're getting a depleted version. And when you're in a space of wholeness and overflow and abundance, then even a 5-minute interaction with you, they get access to abundant energy, which is transformational energy. So it's quality. But anyways, yeah, I think I'm looking at the time.
Flush wanted to share. Haile is going to be on any minute. She told me a few minutes ago she'll be on. Like
I think she
she's
just
done.
said, "Can you send her the?" She said she needs a passcode. I don't
know the
think we need a
passcode.
passcode to get on.
But
Otherwise,
Flush was saying about how, you know, the Rebbe also said about getting a mashpia, and many times the reason a mashpia is out of our ego. So it's someone above ourselves that is not looking at us from a place of trying to cover up our shame. And they're able to help you make decisions. What is your ego and what is actually being, so ungiving. I'm saying what Sippy Shlosh is saying. And second is like, when you're overflowing, like Gila was saying, your one class could accomplish what 100 classes could accomplish.
100%.
So there's both of that. So I don't know how to tell. I'll send the link to Chailea.
Kyla is here. She just
Okay, great. Okay.
Hi, Leah. We're waiting for you. You're on mute.
Hi. I'm sorry, I a little bit forgot about this, kind of, sort of, but I just prepared, and we're
Okay,
here.
amazing. I figured you were like probably preparing now, but it's fine. We had a little for bring-in, so it was good. But yeah, jump in because we're already like close to the end of the hour.
Okay, so the connection to Parshas Eikev is that there's two definitions of Eikev. Rashi's explanation is that it means simple commandments, which a person does with his heels, like just an easy mitzvah. You go and give someone a coin, whatever. And the second explanation of Eikev is that it's the culmination and the end. As a result of everything, you have the end. And the pasuk means in our parsha that we receive reward at the end of our avodah. When we're finished with all our avodah, we're going to get the reward. So the Rebbe says both of these meanings have to have a connection. And it seems like these meanings contradict each other. Rashi's saying heels, which sounds like a very low level of avodah, simple mitzvah. But Rashi's saying that it's about finishing our avodah and getting reward at the end of time. So is it a huge deal or is it a small thing? What is it? And then the Rebbe says we have a question on Rashi itself, because previously in the Torah, Rashi translates the word Eikev to mean as a result and to be a culmination. When it talks about Avram, it says that Eikev, because Avram listened to my voice, I'm going to reward you. So, or whatever the rest of the pasuk was. So what's forcing Rashi in our parsha to take Eikev away from its regular meaning that it means as a result of and a culmination? He's saying it's simple commandments. What's going on? So the Rebbe's answer is that maybe it means the reason why Rashi is doing this is because what's the completion of our Vaida? It's about the lowest realms. It's about simple mitzvahs. It's about small things. A simple commandment of Ani L'Daidi. It's a basic connection that we're doing for Hashem because we love Him. He loves us. We love Him. It's in small actions. And that's the connection to Elul. And we see this in the name of Elul. Elul begins with the Aleph. Even though it's the last month of the year, it starts with Aleph to teach us that it's through those small steps, through the beginning of Avodah, in those little things, when we're at Aleph, that we could reach to completion of Avodah, which ends off the year. So this teaches us a lesson that now when we're getting into Elul, we're going to do a Cheshbon HaNefesh and look at our past year. And this is connected to Geula because now that we're in the times right before Geula and heading into Geula, and we're actually in Geula. So everything we speak about has to connect to Mashiach and Geula. So what's the connection? The word Eikev also connects to Geula. The name Eikev-Sicha de Mashiach is a way to refer to our times, which means the heels, the footsteps of Mashiach. And that's the time literally before the complete Geula. And we can explain, just like Eikev has two explanations. So our generation, Eikev-Sicha de Mashiach, the footsteps of Mashiach, could also be explained in these two ways. On one hand, we're like the heels, we're the lowest. We know it says in the Gemara that it's going to be the darkest time. It's going to be like a double darkness, the highest level of chutzpah. It's going to be a very low generation. I can attest to that. I see it all the time. And then the second explanation of Eikev-Sicha de Mashiach is that it's the end, it's the culmination. We're getting into Geula. It's like we're completing everything. So what's a connection? That it's due to the fact that we are the lowest, that we are able to ascend from our lowly state and go up to Hashem and want Hashem. So we go up, Yerida L'Tzarech Aliyah, and it comes from our desire to go closer to Hashem. And this brings about the completeness of Geula, which comes from above to below. So we kind of reach out to Hashem, and then that brings the completion. And then the Rebbe says that during the time of Elul, not only should we be making a cheshbon and nefesh for ourselves, but we should actually turn to Hashem and say, Hashem, you're the master of the world, and it's time for you to make your own calculations of the whole world and see that we did our avodah, and it doesn't make any sense that we have any bit of galus left. We deserve the complete geula, and we should see it actually in our lives. And the Rebbe gives like many reasons why, of course, we deserve the geula. We're already after Chamisha Sabrav, and we're already close to Elul, whatever, like so many reasons. So that's basically what I prepared. I think I was supposed to do one more ice, but that's where I got to.
Well,
I'm sorry.
no, it was great. Highly amazing for 5 minutes of preparation. That was
I
great.
was like, oh, thank
No,
you.
I just want to say, bring the connection here, which maybe all of you are following, but the fact that everything I've said until now, the Rebbe is just now doing saying the exact same thing with Eikev. That we said like Elul on one hand it's the lower and the higher, and Aleph on one hand it's higher and lower, and we have our body and we have our soul. So even this parsha, it's Parshas Eikev. On one hand, it's the heel. On the one hand, it's the transformation. It's the culmination. The Eikev means both. So of course, and we said that about the Geula work is about facing the parts of us that are the lowest places, like the part of us that feels like dust. And I feel like the Rebbe is also saying, how do we get to final Geula? Like when we're saying, like, how do we get to completion? How do we finally feel good in our nervous system and our bodies? How do we finally relax and experience true healing? And the Rebbe is saying, face the parts that you most want to step on, the parts that are on the bottom, like, nah, I don't want to face that. I don't want to ignore it. You want to step on it. You want to ignore it. Those are the parts that's holding you back. Face the parts that are the lowest and the most uncomfortable. And that's where you're going to get completion. And also in the same way, on a personal level, on a cosmic level, people are saying, how is it possible that this is Mashiach coming? The world is in complete darkness, complete chaos. It's topsy-turvy, upside down. And the Rebbe told us, like the more light that's come in, the more it's going to be a crazy dark time. That's just because the darkness is just exposing itself and being revealed and, getting to a rock bottom. At the same time, the more and more light's coming in. So everything's on par. We're exactly where we need to be. All right. Thank you, Chayla. Now, Miriam.
I just want to say that I loved to hear that we are at the end with Eikev. That's the end. And at the end, we get our rewards. And it really felt I was very touched by it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Miriam, you're on mute.
If you could please send me a recording because I want to hear the first part that I missed.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It's recorded. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So Rebbe starts off saying that the wellsprings, Mashiach will not come until the wellsprings of Hasidus will reach every part of the world. That's what who went up to heaven and whatever, right? And the Baal Shem Tov started the process. And the Rebbe said, okay, so it was done. The wellsprings of Hasidus are everywhere. And just the fact that it's accessible doesn't mean everyone has to learn it. It means that it's accessible. So it already went everywhere. So what's missing here? So the Rebbe says, what's missing? It wasn't yet translated into Braille for the blind.
Oy.
So the Rebbe says that actually we just published the Tanya in Braille. So
can I ask a question? The Rebbe used the word Braille.
Yeah.
yeah.
In
Wow.
the Sicha, it says Braille.
Wow.
So the Rebbe says, okay, so now we published the Tanya in Braille. And the Tanya has every single part of Hasidus in the Tanya. It's the Torah of Hasidus. It's like, it has 5 sections, like the 5 parts of the Torah, and Dvarim is like Kuntras Achron. It's the same idea, and it kind of overviews the entire Tanya. So the Rebbe says, just the fact that it was published, it doesn't mean that they even have to learn it. But just the fact that it's published makes it mean that it already reached every corner of the earth, which for me was such a big lesson in everything that we try to change or try to bring to the world, right? We have an idea, okay, Chailea made this beautiful workshop for the women of the community for Tu B'Av, a 2-day retreat for women. How many women from the few hundred in our community showed up? Very, very little. But what I learned from this line is that it doesn't matter, the fact that you made it puts it into the world. It doesn't matter if this crowd showed up, if anyone even learned it, you put the idea into the world. And many ideas, like Caiaphas was saying, I don't know your last name now.
Yeah, Caiaphas.
Right. That, like, I hear this in psychology, I hear this in other places, but why am I not hearing it from Hasidus? The Rebbe did introduce the ideas. It doesn't mean that we as Hasidim ever learned the ideas, but the fact that the Rebbe brought it down to the world makes it accessible. So that's what the Rebbe is saying here. Like, the fact that it was translated to Braille doesn't matter that anyone blind even learned it. It came into the world, and now we're completely ready. And the Rebbe then goes on to say that the first people that are going to be healed are the blind. And I think it's very interesting that the Rebbe is focusing on the blind here, why he's talking about blind. And I think many of us are familiar with the idea that our eyes were closed.
Exactly.
Like many of us, it's the idea of das, that our bodies didn't fully understand these ideas, that our eyes were shut to all these ideas that the Rebbe brought into the world. And I think that's why the Rebbe is focusing so much on the blind. And the Rebbe says that the first people to be healed will be the blind, which I think means every single one of us, our blindness will be healed. And then goes on to say,
the first people who open their eyes and expand their consciousness, heal their nervous system, do this work, are going to be the first ones to be healing as we access this. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Rebbe goes on to say, well, guess what? We won't be learning from a sefer. So we don't even need to have it any more published or anything, because we're not going to be learning from Svarim. Everyone will be learning from the same focal point, from God himself. And if you learn previous sichas and other ideas of Hasidus and, about this concept, and especially connected with Tu B'Av, the idea of a circle and Hashem being in the middle and tzaddikim having access to Hashem equally, is when our bodies, when we reach those parts of ourselves that are dust, that are in shame, and we turn them over, we take that shame and we turn it over to Kaidesh, to one with God, that we realize who we really are, then we're automatically accessible to godliness. The godliness is already inside us, and the Torah is completely in us. The Torah Chadasha is all there. And it's a matter of opening up those spaces to allow what's there to be revealed. And then the Rebbe benches us with Geula, which is already here. And that's the sum total.
Yay. So beautiful. Thank you. I just want to...
That was...
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to make a comment on that. That was so beautiful, Miriam. I mean, everything everybody's saying is amazing. This is a wonderful, wonderful class. But I wanted to just add to that, like the blindness, and how the Rebbe really emphasized, open your eyes.
Exactly.
Mashiach's here, Geula is here, open your eyes. So it's really he spoke so cryptically, so you have to unpack it,
yes.
Especially when he said all this. We didn't, I was around then, because I'm a little older, And I remember him saying this, and we were like, huh, what does that mean? Open your eyes. I don't see anything. But, learning these sikhas deeply now, we see like it's your consciousness and everything you said,
Exactly.
Nechama, like just opening your inner world. And that's your consciousness and subconsciousness and your darkness and all of that, doing all that inner work.
Yes.
That's what opens your eyes. That's really what opens your eyes. And then you do see the world differently. So it's like a prescription, really.
Yeah.
And then like, how do we get there? And then, just like having these classes and our group and, helping each other
Yeah.
get those new lenses.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
thank you.
I
Which
think
all these sikhas were said in last year's kind of the order, like you said, it's like Shabbos Sunday, right? This year is Hakel year, and like you're saying about women coming together and learning, I think the reason there was such an emphasis on Hakel, on gatherings, on having fun, like women just getting together and just even for just fun things, is uncovering the shame. Because when groups of women come together, and especially if you study these kind of concepts, automatically your shame starts dissolving because, oh, you also, oh, me too. And it becomes this like vulnerability. And to me, I know that last year, many of these sikhas were like, wow, it's on point. Like it's exactly the kfiyas of this year. Well, there's also something really special about this year where we're gathering in groups and uncovering these things as a group, like each one of us unpacking it and saying how it kind of applies to us in a vulnerable way.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we have this now. I really don't want to miss it because it feels so connected.
Yeah.
Like feeling coming home. It's
Yeah.
mama's. Thank you, Nechama, so much.
You're welcome. It fills me so much too. It's like gets me through the whole week. Yeah, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I'm very interested in like crossover terminology from psychology and hearing you Chassidut ladies describe things. Miriam, may I ask you please to define what you mean by the concept of shame? I noticed you said it as a kind of protective device, which is something they're talking a lot about in the language to do with PTSD. Would you mind explaining how you're using the word shame?
Like dust. What the Rebbe is saying here with dust, that's those parts of ourselves that we think we need to cover. They're so small, we think they're separate from God.
Wow. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that disconnect, that dissociation is really like crucial now. It's
Yeah.
in different disciplines and it's so lovely to hear it's in your conversation too. Thank you.
Definitely.
Something that popped out for me, Miriam, when you were sharing that, and you shared it so beautifully, the idea that the Rebbe said first, open your eyes, and then like publishing Svarim, and even that the Tanya was in Braille, and then ends off, and I actually did read it before, and then the Rebbe says, well, actually, we don't even need the Svarim. And the Rebbe said, we're going to be listening. The Rebbe said, we're not going to be looking, we're going to be listening and tuning in. And that's how we're going to be really learning. So I think it's so amazing because nowadays people are looking for truth, right? And so constantly like looking, like social media and YouTube videos and podcasts and like constantly looking for inspiration. And the Rebbe is also saying like, how do we find inspiration? First, open your eyes, which is open your own consciousness and doing this work, healing your nervous system. And how are you going to get inspired? Not by all the external noise and looking outside of you. Open your consciousness, and then you're going to be automatically inspired because you're going to be tuned in to the source and you're going to be channeling constant new Torah. So, that's how we're going to be truly inspired. So it's just so interesting because, like, again, like the switch from external to internal. Yeah.
Wow, really, really well said. Yes, I love that, and it's true. And when you do that work, you do feel that
Yeah.
it's peaceful, and it's you get tuned in, and the more I did that with the help of Bracha Lipschitz, you know, just hearing Hashem talk to you, like Hashem sends you messages, you know,
Yes.
through all kinds of different modalities. And when you tune into that, like your days just become so much easier because you're not in your head so much running around like, oh, maybe I should do this, I should do that. You know, your to-do list, but instead it's like tuning in and like, what do I need to do right now? And
Exactly.
it's just so calming and peaceful, and everybody's in a good mood. Like before, when I was more in my head with my to-do list, you know, my family was like, they were like nuts from it, you know, because I was barking orders at myself and them, and like just always like in this state of tension. Like there's so much to do, and not enough time in the day, and I got to get it done, and you know, just like that crazy, that craziness. And when you do that inner work and just like tune in and okay, so, and then all of a sudden it's like the whole day is like mapped out for you. You don't have to map it out. It's like Hashem maps it out for you and just,
Hmm.
yeah.
And then Hashem says, "Thank you so much for finally letting me love you and be in charge and be the driver here and opening yourself up to receive that and recognition that I'm actually have your whole life figured out for you and know exactly why you're here. And, thank you for making that space, for letting me in."
It's very important not to get annoyed when things happen that you don't like, because in the end, you'll see it will work out.
Yeah.
Like in our new house, we didn't have a couch